What is good, everybody, and welcome back to SportsMark coverage of the NBA Finals. This is a Game 2 recap. I'm joined once again by my man, Jaquan. Jaquan, what's good, bro?
I'm chilling, bro. I'm chilling, living, living
This
life.
guy living life right now, man. This guy's enjoying
Yeah,
it. I
man.
see you got like that summer vibe on, bro. I see you in the white
Ooh,
take and shit.
listen, bro. It's hot. It's hot up here. People sleep like New York don't get hot. Yo, it's hot up here, bro.
Oh, yeah, bro. And
It
it's
is
about to be
legitimately hot
summertime.
up here.
And it's about to be summertime. You know what that means? It's about to get
Whew.
crazy up there.
Oh yeah, no, the ball scene up here is about to get wild because there's a bunch of kids. St. John's got a bunch of recruits going on right now, so the season's about to get crazy out here. And
Oh,
I love it though.
definitely,
I love it.
man.
I love it.
Definitely, man. So, obviously, I'm sure that you saw game two. Starting off in the first half, I felt like the Raptors came out and they kind of were doing a lot of the things that they were doing in game one. For the first half, I mean, there was that last minute in the second quarter. They were up 10, finished the half only up by 5. But what were your thoughts on the first half of the game?
I think they tried to execute a game plan, and for the most part, it worked. But what I noticed, which is kind of disturbing to me, is that Kawhi in this second game tried to come out and do too much. He didn't play within himself. He was trying to pass the ball a little too much. He was trying to take a lot of jump shots, I guess, to try and get himself into rhythm. When in reality, anyone who's watched Kawhi knows that he does well when he can get into the paint and he can attack you off the dribble. And he just wasn't there tonight. I mean, last night.
Mhm.
So like I get what the game plan was, but I just think that they didn't take advantage of the matchups that they had, which is why they were only up by 5 at the half.
Mhm. No, absolutely, definitely. I mean, once again, I think they did for the most part as best as they could containing on defense because the Golden State Warriors obviously they can come out, they can catch fire really quick. But like you said, I think Kawhi came out, he tried to put the team on his shoulders a little too much. One thing that I did see, he was a little bit, well, actually a lot more aggressive in the first half, considering to
Mm-hmm.
how the first half started in game one for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's get right into it, man. Second half starts. Warriors come out on an 18 and 0 run. What are you thinking at this point?
DeMarcus Cousins is kind of back, and he's playing in a way where you can tell he's bought in. He's definitely bought into what he feels that he needs to do to take the next evolution in his game,
Mhm.
which is to defer and to find your fit. And that was always kind of the knock on DeMarcus was that he made it too much about him and he was always really selfish in getting his own shot. But once DeMarcus kind of got into a rhythm in terms of passing the ball, rebounding, getting putbacks, and just kind of doing the dirty work was when you really saw Golden State's offense really begin to hum because usually that guy is Draymond. But again, the thing I've constantly said about Draymond is he's limited because he's only 6'7" playing in a league where centers are 7 foot or higher. DeMarcus Cousins is 6'11", but he's also really rangy, even though he doesn't have the type of vertical explosiveness that most bigs have. He can really muck it up on the inside, especially against a guy like Marc Gasol,
Mhm.
who Draymond can't contain because Marc Gasol is like 270 and he's like 7'1". DeMarcus Cousins was a better matchup fit, which I think is what really kind of changed the game for them. Was that DeMarcus began to be the guy that they brought him in hoping he would be, which is that fifth all-star.
Mhm. No, definitely. And that was my biggest question as far as considering DeMarcus Cousins signing to the Warriors was okay, when he gets out there, is he gonna try and really be that next splash brother? Is he gonna be putting up shots? Is he gonna be who he was in Sacramento, demanding the ball, wanting these low post touches, wanting to dominate? Last night showed me the unselfishness that he has in him. I think it's because for once in his career, he's in a position where he knows I don't have to be the guy. I don't have to be everything for this team to have a chance to win. I just have to do my job. And like you said, he had that Draymond game. I think he finished with a triple double, like we were talking about. Really solid game from him. And then once again, the Warriors showed you exactly who the Warriors are. I think in the series against the Trailblazers, they were trailing in 3 of the games at halftime and ended up still sweeping the series. I think it's time to officially call the Warriors potentially the best second half team that basketball has seen up until this point. Granted, the assembly of talent they have on the roster, you know, like that's the main reason why. But just as far as being able to turn it on in the second half in that third quarter, Clay's historic, I think it was the 37-point quarter.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the
Mm-hmm.
third quarter. They're just a second half team, and once again, they come out and they show that resilience. As much as I would love to see the underdog Raptors win, eventually you have to tip your hat to the Warriors when you recognize what they've been able to do.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree to a degree that they may be one of the, if not the best, second half basketball team we've seen, if not in a long time than ever. The thing that the caveat for me is that because they do end up stacking talent the way that they do, is why I think that, there's a saying that, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. The Warriors work hard,
Mm-hmm.
and they are, DeMarcus Cousins, as much as people never want to admit it, is a top 3 big man in the NBA. And him at 70%, I would say right now, is better than 90 to 95% of the big men in the NBA at 110%.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it came down to, is that DeMarcus is a natural facilitator. DeMarcus is a natural rebounder. DeMarcus is a scorer. And when he kind of puts that all together and he's put in a situation where his intangibles tend to be highlighted versus his skill, his tangible skill, he excels.
Yeah.
And I think it is a situation where he recognizes the talent around him. And he recognizes that the team only wins when, Steph and Clay are on. Now, Steph hasn't really been on, and I've always said that Steph to me is he's an overrated performer in the playoffs and the finals. Like, people see those big games and they're like, yes, he'll have 1 or 2 in the finals or even in the playoffs, but he's never been consistent. It's the guys around him and it's the attention that he brings that guys like Clay can excel, even to a degree, guys like Draymond or, Andre Iguodala, who I think is huge. And I've seen an article today claiming that, he may be this generation's Robert Horry, and I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's top 10 now in 3-pointers made in the playoffs. Like,
Wow.
for a guy that was never really known as a shooter, especially coming out of Philly, for a guy that has that stat and for him to have the longevity that he's had is incredible. And I think that his contribution, both, from a leadership standpoint and from a clutch standpoint, really is what makes the Warriors go,
Mm-hmm.
along with their talent. And that's why I've always told people that it's not always about the core that you have, but it's about the talent that you put around them and how that talent complements them. The Warriors are the perfect example of that. They brought in a veteran whose only job is to knock down shots and facilitate when Steph and Clay aren't on the ball. It's his only job. And his role has even decreased this year. Correct me if I'm wrong. His role has significantly decreased this year.
Oh yeah.
So when you see, him have a really good game, DeMarcus have a really good game, and we're not talking about Steph and Clay because Clay had an okay game but got hurt. Steph didn't really have a great game, but because DeMarcus was kind of the glue guy, and then you have the clutch guy and Andre Iguodala, the team can still win against a talented team like Toronto. And I think for Toronto, this was a lesson on, how to overcome even when your best guys aren't going. Because, Siakam kind of has that Draymond feel to him, but they don't have another guy who can step out and really knock down shots. Because Danny Green, for all he's known for, is extremely inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Marc Gasol, for some reason, kept shooting when in reality they should have pulled Siakam out and put Marc Gasol in and let Marc Gasol get the calls that he should be getting and get to the line and get guys in foul trouble, because then Kawhi can really slash, and then Kawhi would have been a lot more effective. I blame the coaching for that one. But in terms of the way the Warriors are built, this is the prime example of why you build through the draft and you bring in veterans. You don't bring in superstars.
Mm-hmm.
The only superstar they've really brought in was Kevin Durant, but it was for the LeBron James problem. The LeBron James thing wasn't a problem this year, so they really don't need Kevin Durant because their system works. And that's kind of what the third quarter proved to me, is that their system, even though you have different pieces sometimes, when everyone does their job, they are successful.
No, definitely. And I like that Robert Ory comparison that you made. Honestly, and on a completely minor scale, when I consider Andre Iguodala and you look at how he came into the league in Philadelphia, I believe he played in Denver as well before coming to Golden State. Just his type of game, and especially in his later years, I kind of see on a minor scale a comparison between him and Scottie Pippen. He's more of like
Yes.
that, like
Yes.
very athletic, defense oriented. He can hit the
Mm-hmm.
threes. He's not known to be a 3 point shooter, but he can hit
Mm-hmm.
them. But prides himself on his defense, his athleticism, his conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Finals MVP that year, the first year that they beat the Cavaliers in the finals. And last night,
Mm-hmm.
even Steph said in his post game interview, to leave Andre Iguodala that wide open is so disrespectful. Now, mind you,
It
in the
really
fourth
is.
quarter, yeah, absolutely. Mind you, in the fourth quarter, the Raptors came out with, once Clay was out the game and Quinn Cook came in the game, who, by the way, also gave them a really good effort, came in the game, hit a couple big shots. They
Mm-hmm.
started playing this box and one defense. And for the most part, were actually effective towards the end of the fourth quarter. There were
Yeah.
multiple possessions where Steph wasn't able to get off the ball and get a shot. They were leaving shooters like Draymond. They were leaving shooters like Iguodala, who before the game sealing shot wasn't really hitting those threes. But and I said this as we were talking about it last night. So many wasted possessions. The Raptors would just come down the floor, hoist up a three when it just wasn't needed. You guys were within 6 points of the lead. You know, we could have just gotten
All.
buckets down,
Mm-hmm.
the last couple of possessions, and we
You just
were
give it
in
to
the
Kawhi.
game.
Yeah, and Kawhi should have driven. Siakam isn't a great finisher, so I understand, but he's a decent passer. So what they should have done is they should have had Marcus All in the game, and I believe that they did. Not 100%, but I believe that they had Marcus All in the game. They should have had Marcus All on that pinch post and just continuously ran the ball through the pinch post, because at least instead of having Kawhi dribble, go up and throw away the ball, at least if you have it in the pinch post, Gasol can dribble and create from the post. And if it's not there, he can hit a hook shot over DeMarcus. And even if he doesn't, he can get DeMarcus in foul trouble, which is what they should have been focusing on. Because if you
Mm-hmm.
get DeMarcus out of the game, who do they have to come in? Jordan Bell,
Mm-hmm.
who's just an athletic freak, but is foul prone.
Exactly.
Again, I think that was a lack of recognition from the coaching staff, but also, in a way, a lack of experience by Kawhi. Because I feel like for as much as we give Kawhi credit for his talent, I think his experience is overrated because of the system that he played in and because of the veterans that he had around him. He was only asked to go out there and score. So all his mistakes were covered up by all these veteran players moving and reading the defenses that they were playing, so Kawhi looked better.
Mm-hmm.
But now that it's just him, to me, his lack of basketball IQ really came out yesterday, and I feel like that it's gonna be capitalized going forward, because as much as he was in a system where he could make the right plays, now he's in a situation where he has to create and then make the right play, and
Mm-hmm.
he did multiple times where he would leave his feet and have nowhere to go. And I think that was a really, really big issue. Not to mention, for some reason, they were not running the pick and roll with Kawhi and Marcus Gasol as much, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because I feel like that's their biggest mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know they're going to go and trap Kawhi. And if Marcus Gasol is open, you can either get it to Marcus Gasol or get it to a guy on a hockey assist, and someone can get it to Marcus Gasol.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that team doesn't have the experience together yet, where they know when to cut, when to show, when to rotate to get themselves and the second man open. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where Golden State beat them, is they have played so much together that they know each other and they know the moves to make on the court through the system and through the players, that that somebody was always open. Even if it was Draymond who's not hitting shots, Draymond knows how to make the extra pass. So someone else was going to be open.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of how they beat Toronto into submission.
Definitely. I did notice though in the fourth quarter, especially in the fourth quarter, when they would try and do the pick and roll between Kawhi and Marc Gasol, you would just see Bynum and Draymond just collapse on Kawhi, and I think they forced him into like a couple of jump balls and forced him into a couple bad timeouts right down the stretch. They definitely did switch up their defensive strategy. I feel like in the first game they were kind of letting Kawhi be like just one on one with Iguodala. This time they were forcing pressure. And another thing that I took away from it, Kyle Lowry, man, you're in the fourth quarter playing with 5 fouls. Your team needs you. Why are you fouling out on that play? Why are you fouling out trying to poke the ball out from Boogie Cousins on a rebound? And now Danny Green has to come in and be you're the vet on this team, and this is the furthest your team has ever been. You got to be smarter than that, man. You can't allow these type of ticky tack. And you saw how the officiating was the entire second half. They got Steph on some bullshit fouls. So why do
Yeah,
you think that they weren't going to catch you on your fifth? Intentionally slapping DeMarcus Cousins' hand. Like, come on, man.
and I think too, Kyle Lowry. I've always had kind of a gripe with him because whenever it comes into big moments, he's a great regular season player, but for some reason in the playoffs he does not knock down shots.
For
And it's
sure.
been the most frustrating thing in the world where like there are some nights where he's on, but then you look at his stats, he was 2 of 7. So he's only
Mm-hmm.
hit 2 big shots. And when you need him to hit shots because they're gonna leave him open. They're always gonna leave him open because whenever you switch on Steph, Steph doesn't go over screens. He doesn't go over, he doesn't go under. He just stays on, he just stays pinned down. And he just wasn't hitting shots. But again, another great game from Van Fleet.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me has had me thinking, like, yo, why don't you just start Van Fleet and like Kyle come off the bench? Like that's kind of where I'm at right now
Mm-hmm.
because from a defensive standpoint, he guards Steph way better than Kyle Lowry does. Like at some point, I think Kyle Lowry was guarding Clay,
Mm-hmm.
which is insane to me because it's such a mismatch. And even though Kyle can bully him and has a strength advantage in some degree, if Clay catches it, he's shooting right over him, and you saw that. Clay was
Yeah.
taking a lot of quick little ticky tack jumpers, and it helped them. And as much as I don't like Danny Green in terms of him hitting timely threes, I feel like he should have been out there a lot more, and Kyle should have been on the bench, especially with 5 fouls.
For sure. I mean, uh, I. I mean, we have sang Van Fleet's praises this entire postseasons. I think he's putting himself in a position where he's about to get the bag,
Mm-hmm.
because as of he has shown up in really big games for the Raptors. Uh, the whole thing
And
with
I
Kyle
think too,
Lowry, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say he's been having big games since his kid was born. He just had a kid. He's got a
Yeah,
newborn.
yeah.
So I think that level of motivation, like I was telling people before, the Raptors are motivated by things outside of basketball,
Hmm.
and that can be good and that can be bad. Like Siakam's first game was to honor his father, but now what is he playing for? Like he's out here fouling people and smiling at them, like having fun. Like cool, basketball's a game, but this is the NBA Finals. Like we're not cool. Like if we trying to scrap, I'll catch you outside. Like that's the
Hmm.
kind of attitude you gotta have.
Hmm.
But like, once he lost that motivation, he kind of you seen he tapered off. And now he's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna get open shots, so I'm gonna take them. But it's like, bro, if you're not in a rhythm, you need to be driving, you need to be down low trying to get hook shots and get a rhythm going.
Hmm.
So I again I think it was a lack of a severe shortcoming on the coaching staff for me.
No, for sure. And I like the point that you brought up as far as the Raptors are playing for things outside of basketball and how that can be good or bad. In a sense, does that make you question how locked in the Raptors could be? Because I mean, we all know what the Warriors are playing for. The Warriors are playing for a three-peat. They want greatness. They want to solidify this was a dynasty. This was no bullshit back-to-back that we caught LeBron in 2 consecutive years and we needed KD. Like, no, they're playing to absolutely engrave themselves in NBA history. But do you think that these things outside of basketball at some point can become a distraction to Toronto? Because, like we were talking about, the point I was going to bring up with Kyle Lowry and his inconsistency, I think he puts everything other than basketball on himself, and psychologically he goes into the game with so much pressure on him. Like, this is the furthest our team's ever been. I have to prove that they made the right choice in letting go of DeMar and keeping me. And there all these things that come into play, and the city is ready to explode. They're waiting for a championship, and then he probably thinking on the other side, if I don't deliver here, does this mean that they're going to try and replace me? Does this mean that I'm going to be looking for a new team next year? We don't know what this means. So, and I think these are questions that the Raptors all have to address if they are going to come out on top in this series.
I completely agree with you. And it for me, it's not just the city, it's the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally have two countries more or less rooting for them and putting because someone wants them to destroy the Warriors thing, because I feel like the Warriors are the equivalent to the Patriots right now. It's like they've won for so long, we kind of want to see something else, and that's a part of the good and the bad thing about the NBA
Mm-hmm.
is that yes, it's consistent, but now it's predictable. Like people have, for better or for worse, fallen back in love with the NFL because of its unpredictability.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've had their moments, they've had their stripes. So you can say what you want about the NFL. You don't know going into a season who's going to win. Like no one would have had pegged the Patriots to make it as far as they did and win a Super Bowl. Nobody. I don't care what they say, what anybody says. Nobody had the Patriots winning last season.
Oh yeah.
Nobody definitely has them winning this season. Well, people do because they're like, oh, it's Tom Brady, but they have a brand new team.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, they have two or three pieces that are returning that are staples. With the NBA, it was always like LeBron and the Warriors, LeBron and the Warriors, and it kind of became a thing. And it's not like, the Lakers and the Celtics, because those series, they were chippy. They were, again, they were at a time that was representative of the struggle within the country. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, depending on what side you were on, really showed a lot about your views and
Mm-hmm.
who you were as a person. This is more of, is LeBron going to solidify his destiny, or is his destiny going to be tainted by the Warriors? That's not there this year.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like now it's, can Kawhi get it done without San Antonio? And it's like that's cute, but what is Kawhi playing for? Like Kawhi is a 1-year rental. Let's keep it a buck. He may have brought. I just read today that he bought property in Toronto, so he may even be looking to re-sign for another 2 or 3 years. But none of that is compelling because at the end of the day, they're still facing the Warriors. Had it been the Nuggets, had it been the Rockets, I think there would have been a lot more people that were split on this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you're right, because Toronto being the first ever team that's not American being represented in the NBA Finals, and so many people in Toronto represent so many cultures that are quote unquote, you know, anti-establishment, I guess is the best way to put it. Those guys have put a lot of pressure on themselves, and it's like, bro, just go out there and play ball. Like y'all proved the first game that if y'all just play ball, y'all can beat this team. Like, stick to what you know. Don't try to do too much, and don't get swallowed up by the hype. I think the fact that Toronto was so amped off the first game, they kind of crumbled under the pressure, and they definitely did choke. My question is, now that they're going away and they're going to Oracle, given that, this is the last year in Oracle, this is the last year in Oakland for that team, is it a situation where they choke, or that they're like, okay, we're gonna win 3 straight so that Oracle gets one last championship? Like it's kind of the two sides of the same coin for
Mm-hmm.
both teams. But I just think that Golden State has dealt with being the good guys. They've dealt with being the bad guys. They've kind of just been through the ebbs and flows of the NBA in terms of narratives. That now it's like all those guys, well, Steph and Clay have been there. The question is, are the splash bros going to be, there after this year? But I don't think that any of those guys think about that. They're all just like, we just got to win a championship. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
Toronto has to do that. They have to go in and be like, listen, forget all the rest of this stuff. We just got to go out there and win a ring. Like Kawhi is the only one on that. Kawhi and Danny Green are the only two guys on that team that have a ring.
No,
Like
for sure.
Marcus Gasol needs for validation, honestly, because think about it. Marcus Gasol has been one of the most underrated big men of this last decade or so. Because first he was overshadowed because he was in Memphis. Then he was overshadowed because people kept comparing him to Powell. Now that Powell's on the way out, Mark, for his numbers, should still be considered a top 10 or even top 5 big. He's basically, an afterthought in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the acquisitions at the deadline, when he should have been a marquee player.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, Toronto just has to get back to playing basketball
Mm-hmm.
and not worry about all the hype, because there's a lot of hype around the team, and it's like, bro, what got you there is what's going to win you the championship. Don't try to, be the team that, all 5 guys are going to shoot threes. If you ain't been shooting threes before and you haven't been shooting 2 or 3 and 4 threes, stop shooting threes. Get in the paint, muck it up, get some guys in foul trouble, and do your job. Like, let the shooters be the shooters, but specifically for Kawhi, just do your job.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just do your job. Like, they don't
No.
need him to shoot over 45%. They just need him to attract the attention of someone who's going to score efficiently. And when he's open, make shots.
No, for sure. Honestly. All right, Jaquan, we reached that point of the show. I'm going to put you in the hot seat right now. Let me get your prediction for Game 3 and tell me if you think what has happened in Game 2 or the outcome of Game 3 changes who you think is winning the series.
I still don't know what's going on with Kevin Durant, but from the trajectory of things that I'm seeing, it's very possible that he comes back for Game 3. It's a very possible outcome. If that happens, it is going to be a 4-1 series.
Okay.
Straight up. If it doesn't, I still think the Warriors win Game 3 because of the momentum. But I think that Toronto will put up a better showing because they don't have the pressure of being in Canada. But they have the pressure of taking control of the series again. So I think that they crumble in Game 3, but they come out and win Game 4.
Okay, awesome. I mean, hey, Jaquan, man, I appreciate you spending the time discussing this with us. Always a pleasure, my man. Guys, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think we got right, what we didn't get wrong, and we will see you guys after Game 3.
Oh, and also comment on what you think the name of this podcast should be, because we're still kind of tossing that one around.
Facts.
So we want to give it to the people and let the people decide, So
Facts,
just let us know what you think, and give us some positive or negative reviews,
Definitely. My man. All right. Peace out, guys.
All right, bro.